welcome to the YouTube channel for the 757 Spy Flight. We are at Bluegrass Airport in Lexington, Kentucky. This is a cute little freeware airport, and you know, for freeware, we can go inside and we can do a little bit of a walk around. How about this? So, yep, we're going to gate A2. So let's go ahead and slowly make our way down the concourse. I didn't see a Starbucks here. Oh, wow, look at this. So this is clearly United Land down here. Real World today, they are flying CRJ-200s up to Chicago. But as we come on over here to the window, you can see our airplane at gate Alpha 2. And again, this is a freeware airport. I am really impressed. I got it at flightsim.to. And hello, I'm Dave. I do the Spy Flight over on Twitch TV. And here's a full flight in the BAe146. This is a cool little airplane. The upper panel is actually a little bit on the crazy side. It really is a little on the crazy side, but it's also kind of a fun little jet here. So let's see here. We're clearly out here. And let's see, coming and looking over here, I do have a jetway here. Now, I tried to fire up GSX with all this, and it wasn't being very nice to me. So I'm going to use something called Pushback Helper. And I just hit the jetway button on Pushback Helper here. And we'll just go ahead and send the jetway out to the airport. Out to the airplane, I mean. And yeah, we just get to be like a real passenger here. So if you haven't gotten to go into an airport in quite a while, this is actually kind of cool. All right, so the gate agent says, hey, you're a flight simulator av geek. We're going to go ahead and let you go and walk down the jetway here. This is one of those airports that doesn't have one of the... This is not one of the really nice jetways that you can walk down, but I got to tell you, they are getting better and better as we start walking down jetways and stuff. And I think we need to go over here and turn around over here and go a little bit closer. And so there we are. And we'll kind of come down here. Doors closed. Now, some airplanes over in X-Plane, you can actually hit the door handle on the Q400, and you can actually open the door from the outside of the airplane. But not so bad. You can kind of look down there, and there's our jetway over there, and we've got a jetway over here. So kind of cool. And it matches up really nicely too. Okay, so the way that we get the door open is we actually have to go through the door. So let's see, let's go like this. No, let's not do that. Let's do this and come on over here to the Just Flight electronic flight bag. And we can go to the aircraft. Oh, it wants us to download the flight plan first. So come on over and grab your flight plan from SimBrief. Then you can go ahead and open everything up and import the flight plan. Let's also do ground power, and we'll open the forward passenger door. And as we go outside, the forward passenger door is open. It's kind of closed by the jetway, but you get the picture. So let's see here. We've got chocks, ground power. We've also got our number of passengers. We've got our cargo set up. And if you look at your flight plan from SimBrief, so our flight plan said that our zero fuel weight should be 29.167 kgs. So let's see here. We are in kgs, 29,167. This is a nice thing. This airplane, you don't have to use the SimBrief downloader or anything. You can just click the button here in the electronic flight bag, and it takes care of everything for you. Load your fuel. So how much fuel did the flight plan say we needed? We needed to board 5.4 kgs of fuel. We're all set and ready to go. Chocks, ground power, forward passengers. Let's also open the forward cargo and aft cargo bays too. And so there was, we've got, somebody was talking to me. There is, I think it was Happy Pappy over on the Spy Flight on Twitch, who's actually been a rampy. And is now moving into dispatch. But as a rampy said that this airplane wasn't so bad to try and load. I thought that this airplane would be absolute hell to load because it's small, it's close to the ground, and you got to do the hunchback kind of thing. But apparently this airplane was not that hard to load. All right, so let's go ahead and come on up here, and it's time to start doing buttons and stuff, which is the whole reason we're here. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about today's flight. We're going from Lexington, Kentucky to Chicago in the Just Flight BAe146. I'm flying the Model 100. Add-ons that I'm using for today's flight are SimBrief and SimToolkit Pro, Navigraph charts and data. I've also got the Freeware Airport for Lexington, Kentucky, and a Payware Airport for Chicago O'Hare. And instead of using Toolbar Pushback or GSX, I'm using a little thing called Pushback Helper. This is Pushback Helper. It's free. You can get it at flightsim.to, and this seems to work really good for me. I can get the jetway, I can call the tug, and it doesn't seem to have a conflict with the more advanced airplanes like the Phoenix and the PMDG. So there we go. What are we going to be doing today? Well, this airplane does have basic FMS operations. Now, I believe that Just Flight is working on a more advanced version of this airplane. So we'll get the opportunity to throw down our debit card soon, but we might get a better FMS, which I'm really looking forward to. This is a real-world route. United Express does fly Lexington to Chicago. They're using CRJ 200s. We do have current weather in there. I'm also using real-world active runway, so we're doing it as real as it gets. What should you do? Well, this is a complete flight. The whole goal of this is on YouTube. You can stop, start, and replay some video. Is I'll go through the complete startup and flight so that you can fly along. So hit pause, start up Microsoft Flight Simulator, load in your BAe146 and fly with me. Then after you do this flight, one of the things I like to suggest is within a day or two of this, try and do another flight out of your hometown airport. Just kind of helps you remember all the things that you picked up, and that way you'll kind of remember stuff about this airplane. And believe me, there's some complexities on this airplane for sure. And then please, if you feel like it, join us over on Twitch for the spy flights. We fly every day, Tuesday through Sunday at 1900 Zulu. That's 3 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S. They're all group flights. Usually the first one is always on multiplayer, but then we hop on over and do some VAT simming. Here's our flight today, Lexington to Chicago. Departing off of Lexington's runway 22, direct to Bonnet, and then the VEEX 5 arrival into Chicago O'Hare's runway 10 Charlie. Our cruise level for today's flight's a little high up there. SimBrief really likes to put you at the highest level, so flight level 340 might be a little bit ambitious for this airplane, but we'll see how it goes. Flight time's 1 hour and 30 minutes gate to gate. Flight distance is 334 miles. And I think that's pretty much everything that I can yammer about. It is now time for us to go and start start pushing buttons, which is the whole reason we really like to do flight sim, right? Electronic flight bag is on. I also have got a very, very long text file here of stuff to do. If you go over to Discord, link in the description. I've got this, my checklist that I'm following is over there. It is a text file, so you can you can put it into Notepad, and that should help you if you want to follow my to-do list as well. And when it comes to complex airplanes like this, to-do lists, a little checklist in Notepad really does save the day. Okay, so electronic flight bag, flight plan has been downloaded, main cabin doors open, we don't need air stairs, cargo doors are open, zero fuel weight, gate fuel have been correctly entered into the electronic flight bag. The thing that I saw at the top of this whole thing is the very first thing that I think they want you to do is dial the tilt all the way up to 15 degrees. I guess that's so we don't cook the ground crew in case our weather radar is on. Then the next thing we do is the typical thing that you would do in an airplane. Landing gear lever is down. Speed brakes, although they call them air brakes in this airplane. Speed brakes are down, flaps are up, and all of our levers are in the proper position. So now we get to go ahead and come on up to the most confusing part of this, and that is the overhead panel. This thing is the thing that is the scariest about this airplane for me, because in some of the other airplanes it's pretty easy to find stuff. This thing, all the buttons look alike, And the labels on the buttons are kind of small, so you kind of have to know what you're doing. So we'll go to the electrical part, and we're going to do battery 1 and battery 2. And the cash register bell pops on, which is just, okay, we got a cash register bell in this airplane. We do have external power, so this is one of those 3-way rocker switches that this airplane has. So instead of, you see how it's got, you can push the button up. Now we're going to use the thumb wheel and dial it down 2 notches, and that just turned it on. So we do have external power on, and I think that it returns to neutral after you turn it on. Yeah, so it keeps, so it's going to be on, and then it goes back to neutral. Okay, so we're good to go with that. Now we need to go and look up here in the upper right. Oh, up, 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 even more. Let's go ahead and do navigation lights, and I usually turn that on to high. We'll also turn the cabin emergency lights on to armed, and emergency lights are good. Now then, the next thing we do is look down here and check the brake selector. So there's a yellow, and if you slide over here, there's a green. So there's yellow and green, and what they want us to be on the yellow brake selector system is yellow, okay? Now then, we get to go back up here and go way up here, and we're going to do yaw damper master 1 and 2. Okay, so yaw damper masters 1 and 2. Let's do the AP master, and then avionics A and B. So all those 3 systems go on there. The next thing we're going to do is look down for anti-skid, and anti-skid, that goes to on. So anti-skid is on. Yellow and green lift spoilers. And yellow and green, if that sounds a little familiar to you, I think, you know, this airplane was the beginning of Airbus. And, you know, the hydraulic systems, yellow, green, and what is it, blue? White? I forget. There's a third one that Airbus has, but, you know, we've got yellow and green systems here in the hydraulics. Okay, so this is the miscellaneous. So that was yellow, green lift spoilers, AC, DC bus ties to auto. So AC, DC bus ties. So here's the AC pump, and I guess the DC I have on. And I think what we would do, and the reason I have the notes on to turn these on right now, is because if you had the air stairs out, you need the hydraulic systems to pop them back up. Okay, so AC, DC bus. Next thing is the standby inverter and generator. So we come on down here. Standby inverter and generator. Oh, well, actually, AC, oh boy. Okay, take 2. I totally misled you here. So my notes are, I turn these on and then turn these off. That adds a little bit of pressure. And then this is the AC and DC bus ties. They go on there. Sorry about that. Okay, that's a great way to get the video started, right? Okay, generators 1 and 4 need to be off and reset, so that's good. APU generator can go on, and the APU generator is on. The left inner fuel tank goes on, and the APU master switch can go on. APU master is here, starting up the old APU. And already the RPM is going up. And if you go outside the airplane, the joke about this airplane is this airplane has 5 hair dryers for engines. So, you know, we've got 4 hair dryers on the wings, and the APU is considered the 5th hair dryer. So there we go. You see our reverse nav lights are on, and you can see green on the right and red on the left. And our APU is firing up very, very nicely there. I really do kind of like the sounds on this airplane. I think they're really pretty good. Okay, so APU is now on. And then we turn on the APU air. Okay, so we were up here. There's the APU master. Here is APU air. Okay, so APU air is on. And then what they want is, notice how we have 2 air conditioning packs here. You are supposed to do either 1 or 2, and I think I was reading that they really would like you to go back and forth to use them equally. So we're going to go and use pack number 1. And now the most important switch on the airplane because it's early in the morning for me. You got to have your coffee, and if you want our coffee, got to have the galley switch on. Morning coffee and galley switch. Got to have it. Keep the coffee hot, the beer cold, and everything's going to be fine, right? All right. After that, now according to my flow chart, they want you to turn on the engine anti-ice right now. I think that maybe in the middle of summer in Kentucky, that's not the best idea, but that was in my workflow. So we'll go ahead and do those now. I'm not 100% certain about this one. Okay, flight deck emergency lights go to armed. That's good. Yaw damper 1 and 2. So we already did the masters up in the upper panel. Yeah, the upper panels as I'm pointing that way. The master is down here. You see these guys right here, yaw dampers? By the way, there is the autopilot, okay? And see here, there's pitch. So if you're going to do a vertical speed, climb and descend, there's your pitch knob. So AP and pitch knobs are right there, okay? Now then, the last thing as a part of this pre-flight is you come over here and look over at the co-pilot and say, so co-pilot, come on over here and do the oxygen. And you just click that button and that turns on the main supply of oxygen. Okay, so we got all those things set up. And that is really the first part of my flow. The next thing to do is check that parking brake and make sure that the parking brake is on. It is on, although we already checked that, so I don't know why it's in there twice. Center fuel tank transfer. The center fuel tank transfer is right up here, and that goes to auto. Okay, that's good. Cabin pressurization set to cruise altitude. So SimBrief has got me going all the way up to flight level 340. So what you do is over here on the pressurization, dial this all the way over. So 34,000 feet. See how it's going to stop at 8,000? So that's going to pressurize us to 8,000. Pressure. It's 34,000 here, but the cabin pressurization here is going to be set to 8,000. And then ice detection. So this whole panel here, okay? This kills me. Whole panel here. What is the one switch on the panel that is actually guarded? The one button that they don't want you to mess up and not mispress. It's ice detection. This is the one that's guarded. Okay, our ice detection is on. I guess that's something that they may have turned off in the past. I don't know, but that's like the only one. While you're over here, you can also go and turn this up. So this is dim the panel, and then we'll go up here and dim instruments. And then we're going to come on down here. And if we look way down here, we can also do panel instruments. And then if you go down here to the pedestal, and there are these. So there is the forward console, and I'm turning them up to about 10, 11 o'clock. Now, if it was nighttime, I would also turn up the floodlights just a little bit. But I've gone and adjusted those, and that works good. Okay, so all of that is good. And now it's time to do the TMS. And this is called the Takeoff Performance System. And come on over here. And here is our Takeoff Performance System. Okay, so what do we do here? First things first, we're going to turn it on. Now, there is a test that you can run through and have it do a self-test. But the first thing I'm going to do is the temperature reference, and that's the outside air temperature. And conveniently, the OAT temperature gauge is right down here. How about that? Last time I checked, Lexington is reporting 22 degrees was the last weather I got from Lexington. Let's go and do a METAR TAF, because did I turn on real world weather? Real weather and real time are on. Sorry about the sniffing. I'm still dealing with allergies. Oh, and outside, we got a bunch of wildfire smoke too. Okay, so sorry, I'll apologize for the sniffing. Okay, Bluegrass Airport, here is the latest METAR, and it says the temperature is now 24 degrees. So Control C, and I'm just gonna go and put that into my flight notes. By the way, this is METAR TAF, great weather website for flight simmers. Link in the description. Well, if we look down here, This says it is 24, so it's right on. How about that? 24 degrees. So let's go ahead and do our reference temperature, 24 degrees. Okay, takeoff, we're going to hit select. And the target that they've told me that I read about is you set your target to 80 or 800. Yeah, I think it's 80 point something. So you can have a decimal point in there, but 80. And then, okay, this is kind of cool. Watch, see our airspeed indicator there? Click the speed card, and that sets your bugs for you. Super duper helpful for a simulator pilot. I know that kind of, ruins some immersion for some people, but seriously, super duper helpful for us sim pilots. Okay, and after that, we then turn the TMS off. Okay, so we're good to go there. Now then, we can come up here, and it's time to do flight directors. So flight directors are going on. Flight directors are on. Heading for the runway. All right, so we've already got our charts set up, right? Okay, so our charts are set up, and we're going to be departing off of runway 22, so that's 226 degrees. Okay, so this is a little bit awkward on this airplane. So here we are here, and we're going to go to 226. That's kind of hard to see down there. So what I usually do is I will go and dial the course heading to my runway heading. So 226. So there's 226, and then what I'll do is then come on over here. I've been getting that a lot lately. I think that they're redoing the servers. So sorry that's going to pop up. Okay, and then what you can do is then use that as a way to just go ahead and set your runway heading to 226. Okay? So that's how I go about doing that. And then after I'm done, once we take off and stuff, I'm going to go and reset that one to 0 in a little bit. All right, so let's go over here. And heading is set. Autopilot heading, we now arm. Okay, this is getting a little bit annoying because with the server problems and stuff like that, it's going to put something right in the middle of your screen. Microsoft, seriously. If I'm on final approach and you're flashing, hey, you've lost your internet connection. What am I supposed... Dude, come on. If we're in the middle of a VATSIM event and stuff like that, that is a problem. I understand that it's all about the internet connection, but come on. There's got to be a middle ground on that one. And sorry about the little rant there, but... Okay, cleared altitude. We do not have a SID going out, so we're going to flight level 340. A lot of people, when they're watching this, kind of like the altitude here. So it's got a little hand crank on there to just crank it on up. So 340 is our final cruise. I think 340 is a little bit ambitious for the airplane, but okay, whatever. 340, and there we go, and then hit altitude arm. Okay? Now we're good with that. We come down here and we're going to enter the FMS stuff. So if this looks a little familiar to you, this looks an awful lot like the FMS and the CJ4. So it doesn't operate in exactly the same way. The airplane should be able to see that your active database is correct, and it is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the index page, and we're going to go to page 2 and go to root menu. And at this point, it's going to ask for a pilot ID for your SimBrief flight plan. Okay, and so it should go and get your flight plan, which it just did. Lexington to O'Hare. It's already departing us on runway 22, and our first direct is to Bonnet. Perfect. So let's go and hit execute. Now then, departure and arrival. We've already got runway 22 selected, so that's good. Arrival. SimBrief right now has got us coming in on runway 10 center. So 10 center. We're going to be doing the VEEK 5 arrival via Bonnet and via Gibbons. Transition Bonnet, transition Gibbons, and execute. Okay, so that should be about it. So we can go into legs. So after Bonnet, we're going to close that discontinuity and go direct to Nylon. And then there's VEEK. And then Cluso, Cato, Pink, Possum, and then it's vectors to Gibbons. So let's see. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Will it let me close the discontinuity? No, it doesn't like that at all. So we'll just have to go ahead and live with the discontinuity in there. Now, maybe I'm making a mistake with this, but that's the way, that's what I got. Okay, so there we go. Back to the index page. Is there anything else we can do? Position in it, GNSS, hold. Let's go to page 2. What else is here? About, mode select. See, a bunch of the ones have been grayed out. So for me on this one, this isn't complete, but so this is usually where I stop, and I will just go ahead and put progress up. Okay, and at this point we're done. If we were on VATSIM, we would go over here and turn on the radios. And if we want to be good pilots, we're going to go to 122.8 and announce our intentions. Unless, of course, there was ATC. We could also come down here, and we're flying IFR. So we're going to go down and do 2,000 in the transponder, and that's good too. And our flight plan is now done. Guess what? It's almost time to start pushing back from the gate. So one of the things we've got is ground power needs to be turned off. Well, we've already got the APU set up, so we're going to go ahead and turn off ground power. And if we did it right, the airplane doesn't go dark. So there's your safety tip. And now it's time to start closing the doors. They've loaded the cargo, forward and aft cargo. We can also disconnect ground power. We turned that off. And are we ready to close the doors? Let's close the doors. Forward passenger door is closed. And you hear the door closing behind us. And by the way, this is one of those airplanes that is modeled. So you can see the cabin's modeled. I have a couple of wing views here. So there's our door closed. And passengers are all in their seats and ready to go. So let's go up here and we're going to do seat belts. Seat belts are up here. So fasten belts. On. Seat belts are on. Now then, the beacon is up here. And let's turn on the beacon. Beacon is on. And at this point in time, we need to do our pushback. Okay, so we're going to leave the air on. Let's go down here. Do we have our brakes on? We do. They're chocks in place. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get pushback helper. And here is our pushback helper. And let's go over here. And pushback helper will stay up in front of your screen like this. So let's go ahead and call the tug. Let's also get rid of the jetway. And so our jetway should go away. Okay, so Sim Toolkit Pro got a nice update, but every 30 minutes or so, Sim Toolkit Pro has to reprocess an auto login. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is with that, but it's being kind of weird. So you have to go and restore your flight and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know what's going on with Sim Toolkit Pro at the moment. There goes our jetway. Now we can go outside the airplane here real fast. And you can see that there's our jetway, doors are closed. So we can come on in here and let's go ahead and pull the chocks. Chocks are pulled and it's time to push. If we were on VATSIM, operate, mode Charlie on all taxiways. So let's go to transponder. And even if I'm not on VATSIM, I try to behave like I am so I don't forget stuff when I am on VATSIM. Cabin secured. Are we ready to go? We are. So parking brakes off. And let's do a push. There we go. And you can look outside, see a little bit of a push back there. And there's our push. One of the things that I do really like to do is I like to use charts. The Navigraph charts here, and I will put it into moving map mode for ground operations. Okay? Unless you know the airport like the back of your hand, and I still think that having the moving map is really nice, just so you got an idea of where you are on the airport. Especially if you're on VATSIM and you're doing right now you're doing Unicom and all of a sudden ATC pops in, it's just a great safety tip. Okay, looks good. Come on down here. Parking brakes are on. And let's lose the tug. There goes the tug. I'm going to slide this over there and exit out of pushback helper. And the truck should hopefully go away. Bye. We are now cleared to start engines. Okay, so we got to go up here. Beacon is on. APU error goes, first of all, I think the pack should go off first. Then do APU air off. I think those are back and forth. Galley power goes off. Fuel pumps go on. 1, 2, 3. All of our fuel pumps are on. Start power goes to normal. Okay, so start master is normal. And start power, start master goes on. We're going to start engine number 4 first. And let's do start selector engine number 1. Ready? And it has a real interesting start sound. Come on down here. See 1, 2, 3, 4 down from the bottom. You're looking for 10%. So there's 10% there. And then lift the fuel cutoff on engine 4. And there goes your start for engine number 4. And if we come over here, you can hear hairdryer number 4 is starting to fire up here. And the engine start sounds actually pretty good on this airplane. Again, not a bad engine start sound, I think. Pretty good. All right, let's go and get the other engine started here. Engine number 3. Start master. Start. Look down here. N2 on engine number 3. And we're looking for 10%. 8, 9, 10%. And fuel cutoff. Hairdryer number 3 is starting. And so it's basically far right to far left is engine start here. Everything on the right side, just go right across your airplane. And you can even hear the engine sounds in the cabin are actually pretty good too. And we're getting a good start on that engine. And usually, you know, we could probably get the next one going here. I don't know when you actually could go and start the next one, but I kind of like to wait until that stabilizes. I don't know if that's that important, but I'm just trying to do it as right as I possibly can. So here comes engine number 2, and there's 10%, and engine. And there goes that engine right there. Passengers in the cabin are behaving fairly nicely. It's early in the morning. So most airlines that are using the hub and spoke system, you know, they're going to run the little commuter flights out of the gate at, you know, 6, 7 a.m. in the morning to get all the passengers from the smaller airports into the hubs, so that they can do an 8 or 9 o'clock departure for the bigger jets going out. Altimeter is 3001, so this airplane you can go and set all of your altimeters to, you know, together so that you only have to adjust one of them. This airplane, I might set the altimeter, the pilot altimeter to 3001, but I always have to adjust the backup and the co-pilot too. So that's a little weird. And we got a good start there, starting engine number 1. But I really do not mind sacrificing a little bit of immersion to have all of my altimeters set at once, especially on a VATSIM flight, because we're going to get busy. And hairdryer number 1 is going. Always good to have the hair dryers going. Okay, how's that start going? Yep, N2, N1 is going up. TGT is going up. Everything's looking good to go there. Now it's time to do the after start flow. And I usually will wait on that until all 4 engines are going. And all are going and stable. Okay, so engine start selector goes to off. Engine start master goes off. Engine anti-ice. At this point in my notes, it says you can, as needed. It's Kentucky. It's summertime. I don't think that we need the anti-ice on. Generators 1 and 4. Okay, so generators 1 and 4 can go on. And these are little rocker switches. So generators 1 and 4 go on. APU air goes on. Packs 1 and 2 go on. Brake fans up here. So brake fans go on. Brake fans even right now. Engine 2 and 3 hydraulic pumps. So engines 2 and 3, I always get lost on this one. Engines 2 and 3 hydraulic pumps. External. Ah, there we are. Engine 2, engine number 3 hydraulic pumps go on. AC hydraulic pump goes on. Okay, AC hydraulic pump. The PTU pump goes on. The heaters. So we've got ice protection heaters. And then the number 4 is a rocker switch. And then all of the heaters are on. Takeoff performance system. Remember the takeoff performance system? Power back on. Okay? And again, now we're going to go back and do the most important button in the airplane. The galley power goes back on. And our transponder is on. So we're good to go there. And it is taxi time. So first step, flaps are going to go to 15. I found that my flap lever seems to work pretty good. The Airbus TCA flap settings seem to work okay with this airplane, so I can use the flap lever, which is nice. And the flap extend animation's actually pretty good here. Okay, rudder and aileron trim are down here, and we'll look and see, are they centered? So aileron trim is good. Nose down is not a thing that we need to worry about at the moment. But what you do is come over here to the center of gravity and click it. And that sets your takeoff trim for you, which is nice. Another really nice time saver. Okay, continuous ignition if we need it. Our cabin is secured, so we're good to go there. Cabin secured. And taxi lights. So taxi lights are here, and they're the same switches as your landing lights. So landing is up, taxi is down. Okay? Over on my other monitor, I do have my chart set ready to go. We're going to come out here at Tango 2, Alpha to Alpha 7 to runway 22 for takeoff. Come on down here. Parking brakes can go off. And I think we're ready to go. Look over there. We clear. Now there's a truck there, but we're going this way. And out we go. Okay, I screwed something else up. So I'm pushing all my throttles forward. See how only 2 are going? Okay, so I messed up something here. So parking brakes. This is something that I really wish Microsoft would change. And I need to go to controls and reset my control bindings to this airplane. So over in practically every other simulator that I've ever used, you do not have to change these bindings yourselves. PMDG, BAe146, BAe146. There we go. And do I have a BAe146 for this one too? I think I leave it in the old PMDG, default, Phoenix, pilot profile. I think I use it in just the main pilot profile for the stick. Apply and save, go back and resume. Now, because I had to go out and do this, you really should check your flap settings. So I'm going to roll my flaps all the way up. I'm going to go ahead and do my speed brakes and then put my flaps back. Because if you sometimes go out to change your settings, that's going to mess with your flaps. You could also just use buttons for your first and second flap settings too, and they work just as good. All right, take two, parking brakes off. And now if we look down here, I push all 4 throttles forward. Now they're working. There we go. And out we go. We're gonna look for taxiway. There's our taxiway. Once I get going on this airplane, I'll just taxi usually on the 2 inner engines. And coming up at Tango 2. Get over here on our center line like good pilots. Okay, starting to pick up a little speed, so thrust idle. And nice little right turn here. And we'll kind of cut some corners just a bit. Oh, look at that windsock. We got a little bit of a crosswind on our takeoff today. And around here. And I believe we got a couple of hold shorts here. Yep, that's the hold short line. Okay, before you turn on the parking brakes, kind of tilt up a little bit. See the panel? Hit the config check. And nothing's wrong. There is one thing enunciated down here, and that's parking brake fans. So we're good to go. Tower just cleared us. Let's go ahead on out. We'll go to Alpha 7. Since Tower has cleared us and our runway, we're going to come up here, and once I get cleared for takeoff, or, you know, line up and wait, I turn on my strobes once I get ready to go out onto an active runway. Speeds are set for takeoff. Everything looks good. So everything's looking great. So takeoff. Throttles go to 51% and then stable. Last check, make sure that the TMS is set to takeoff. Ooh, it isn't. Now we're set to takeoff. Thrust idle. And around we go. Runway 22. So here's another hold short. I'm going to guess that maybe the scenery designer should have had an ILS hold instead of the hold short there. So that was probably the ILS hold that we were at. So they need to change that marking. And a nice little lineup here. Ranger Specs and Yoginsha. Always nice to see people flying around. I'm in multiplayer for this one. Okay, we're all good to go, right? And a cabin call. There we go. Cabin call is good. Are we ready to give this a try? 51%. Shall we give this a shot? So all throttles going up to 51% slowly. %. Stable.
TMS set to take off.
Steering with rudder pedals.
Speed alive, both sides. 80 knots cross-checked. Power set, then what would you need?
Really like having the callouts.
V1. Rotate. V2. Positive rate of climb, gear.
Did a little bit of a turn off the runway there. I was too busy looking outside. Get back on our course heading. There we go. Good pilot. Okay. Our first checkpoint in the sky is a right turn. So let's go over here, and I'm going to switch the nav, and we're going to start a turn. Nice gentle turn. And let's go to climb mode. So there's takeoff. Okay, landing gear is up. Flaps are we're slowly speeding up there. Engine air can go on. Engine air is on. APU air can go off. Thrust management goes to sync and master. I hit the wrong button. It should have been sync. There's sync, and master 1 is set. Slowly rolling out on our course heading here. And speed's coming up. We can do a notch of flaps. And we're going slightly over our course heading line here. Now then, we're going to look down here. Uh-oh. What was that? That's weird. Speed's coming up to 250. I think I overturned. Oh, I think it was the airport. It was waiting for us to go over the airport. Roll out. Okay, I'm also descending. We should be climbing. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, looking good. Now then, it's autopilot time. So let's go to LNAV. And let's come on down here and AP. And hopefully we don't crash. LNAV is set. What we're looking for is our speed to come up to about 250 knots. Now then, to start this, I'm going to go to vertical speed. And what we're going to do is push the nose down a little bit. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 little clicks there. And how's our climb? 2,000 feet per minute. Not good. Well, it's not great, not terrible. Push the nose down. Vertical speed still pretty high here. Whoops. There goes the nose down. See, we're climbing too much, and I want to get my speed up to 250 knots. I need a little speed here. So we still got to go and do this. Now, we could also do this with pitch. So I'm just continuing to use the pitch down to get my speed to 250. Still wants to climb like a banshee here. So I'm actually holding it down now. Whoa, there we go. But now we're starting to see the speed increase. There's 240. 245 and 250. IAS climb. Now it's going to hold 250 knots and adjust our pitch to climb. So we're good to go there. Okay, AC hydraulic pump can go off. AC hydraulic pump off. APU can go off. Let's see, PTU pump can go off. And we're good. And we're doing a nice climb. There's 10,000 feet. So 10,000 feet, landing lights, cabin call. And Sim Toolkit Pro just had to reset again. So I've got no idea why Sim Toolkit Pro is in constant freakout mode. But it's getting annoying. Probably time for a patch on that one. And our climb is good. Passing 10,000, climbing at about 1,500 feet per minute. So my throttles appear, all four throttles appear to be off a little bit here. But if you look, the thrust management system has got everything relatively equal for the climb. So I just kind of leave those alone and not touch it, and it should be good. This is a little bit more of a loud airplane too. This airplane's a little bit louder, so you could turn it down. And I think that that's because it's probably a little louder in this cockpit. We took off from Lexington, Kentucky's Gate A2. The real-world flight that we're kind of following along, shadowing here, took off from Alpha 2, and it will be going into Gate Echo 1. And I found that out using FlightAware. You can also use Flight Radar 24. So let's see, Echo 1 is right in here. Right there, so there's our gate that we're going to be coming in on. Over here, we were able to use Echo 2. Yep, Alpha 2 is right there. So there was the terminal. We took off from there, and out we go. And we're going into the approach. Passing 13,000 feet, transition in the United States, 18,000 feet, climbing at about 1,200 feet per minute. Now, this airplane doesn't really give you a good top of descent, but it does give us a nice distance to Chicago, 360 miles. So, one of the things that we can do is we can look over here, and it's time to start doing some math. I know, it's a little early in the morning for math. So, yeah, having a hard time. Sim Toolkit Pro is being really cranky here since we got the 1.0 update. It wants to be on top of everything. It's hard to minimize. I really like Sim Toolkit Pro, but it's getting a little more cranky. Okay, so what are we going to do coming on in here? VEEC 5 doesn't give us a lot of altitudes on our descent. So let's look at the approach. So we're going to come here, and the final approach altitude is 23,000 feet. We're going to flight level 340, so let's do the math for that. And because it's early in the morning, we're going to use the calculator. So 34,000 feet minus 2,300 times 3 divided by 1,000 means I need 95.1 miles for my descent. Let's round it up to 100. So 100 miles out from Chicago is when we need to start our descent. Okay? Easy number to remember. And we'll just go down here, and we have 352 miles to go. So there we go. Looks like we got about an hour and 4 minutes worth of flying time today. Passing 16,000 feet. Okay, we can go ahead. Another checklist item we've taken off. I'm going to go ahead and do the brake fans to off. We didn't overheat the brakes, so that's good news. Flaps are up, speed brakes are down, gears up, and the airplane's behaving. Whether the pilot will behave is another thing. But wow, this panel. I think that this panel is more intimidating than the Mad Dog for me, because all the buttons just look alike. And it's tough to say, oh, yep, there's the APU. It's just right over there. It's just right over there. See, was I a good pilot? Did I bet I forgot to do, yeah, I forgot to go Terra on takeoff. T-A-R-A, I totally forgot to do that. 17,000 feet. It says that ice is detected. So, if ice is detected, what's the temperature outside the airplane? Ah, the temperature outside the airplane, 0, what is that? That's 8 or 9. Are we in clouds? No. So we don't have to turn on the anti-ice stuff right now. If we were in clouds, and because we're below 10 plus degrees Celsius outside the airplane, then we would want to turn on some anti-ice. But it's summertime, we're not in clouds, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay, 18,000 feet, so 2992. And then, so 2992 or 1013, I always have to go and click this over 1. So, there we go. After takeoff, another thing we can do is let's click the speed card, and that kind of closes up the speed bugs a little bit for our flight. And we'll just continue to do the climb. We could also ring the bell, let the flight attendants know that it's safe for them to get up and start doing snacks and drinks. I usually leave the door open with the pathetic hope that the flight attendants are going to bring free coffee and donuts and pizza up to the flight deck. They never do. Here is the air stair in case you don't have a jetway. You do have to have the hydraulic system on to retract the air stairs. We do have a lavatory up right next to it. Boy, that really looks pretty skinny there. We have a coffee machine. What do we have over here? Have some storage. There's flight attendant seats. If I remember, the only time I ever got to ride on one of these was a United Express flight from Denver to Colorado Springs. I think there were like 4 first-class seats and everything else was 3. Now you notice back here as the plane, as we get closer to the back, it goes to 2, and then 3 over there, and then 2 over there. And then back here we got 1 more lavatory. We've got another galley. And some flight attendant seats. And there we go. And Sim Toolkit Pro just reset itself again. And so to do this, you've got to go and restore your flight, and then you have to reconnect it. So it's being a real brat right now. And now it's like it's doing it every 10 minutes. Passing 20,000 feet, so our climb's going pretty good here. We are 324 miles outside of Chicago. Now, as we get a little bit closer to top of climb, what I will do is I'm going to reset this down to about 710. So 710 down to 71 degrees, and I'll stay with target. And so that'll reduce that, and then hopefully, usually between 70 and 74 are the notes that I have for keeping your speed below the barber poles there, so you don't hit the never exceed speed. We are 87 miles out from our first checkpoint in the sky, and that's Bonnet. And everything's looking good up here. There is a set of pre-departure checks before you even start turning things on, except basic power. And I used to have a list of those, but I haven't been doing them very much. So I need to remember all the little things that you check on this airplane before it's takeoff time. Uh, 22,000. Still climbing at about 1,000 feet per minute. So we're coming up on about 10, 11 minutes from top of climb. Let's see, current time, it is 23 minutes after the hour. As we get closer, particularly on a flight that's not too long, I will go and do a weather check and see how things are going and see what's going on in Chicago. Right now, Chicago's got us coming in on 10 center. So we're gonna have a crosswind of about 11 knots. It is overcast down to 1,300 feet. And so I'll go and take all of this, copy it, and paste it into my flight notes. This is something that I've developed over years of flight simming. This is just how I keep track of all the different notes that I'm going to need. It really helps out when I'm in a big VATSIM event. And for you, I've taken the top few lines of the flight notes here, cleaned them up just a little bit, but all of my flight data is actually in the description below, so you can copy and paste that, put this into Notepad, and you can start using this. A lot of the data here is condensed information from the actual flight plan. So here's the flight plan over here, and if you take a look, you can see, okay, so what's our distance? 334 air miles. Cost index, Mach 0.70. So it's not a cost index, this gives you the Mach. What's our zero fuel weight? 29.167. Okay. Gate fuel, block fuel at Lexington, 5.4. Final reserve fuel is 2.6. So beyond that, if you come over here, we can then go to the next page, and you can see 74 passengers. Cargo, so this put me at 74 passengers, but no cargo. If you took a look at the way that the airplane actually loaded itself, though, the airplane actually loaded itself with 60 passengers so that we could have a little bit of baggage. So that was a little interesting. The zero fuel weight was the same, but those two numbers didn't translate exactly. I don't need to be exact to be happy, but that worked out pretty good. I also will include the METAR and departure and arrival times. If you're starting to get a little more involved in some of the bigger VATSIM events, like cross the pond and cross the land, you really are going to need to pay attention to departure and arrival times, because you can't miss your slot because there's too many people flying. So eventually, and I just did a video on departure times, getting the airplane out on time. Okay, I'm also going to go here and I'm going to reset my heading bug to straight up and down here. Always like to keep my heading bug always, in the direction of flight. So if the autopilot fails, I'm ready to go and says, oh, okay, this is the direction I'm supposed to be flying. Everything's looking good here. How's our climb? Well, about 900 feet per minute. So about 1,800, 900. So our rate of climb is really going to slow down. We're 289 miles from top of descent. So this is going to be one of those reach your climb, cruise for 10 minutes, and start a descent kind of flights. Sim Toolkit Pro is hanging in there. So we're coming up on what Sim Toolkit Pro thought was our top of climb. It really does seem to be freezing up. I used to be able to zoom the map around. I can't anymore. So it's gotten really, really cranky for some reason, which is too bad. Another great way to do that. Usually Sim Toolkit Pro's map is really nice, but if you want to be a bit of a tourist, so you can use this map. We're going to, coming up next to Indianapolis here. There's Dayton and Springfield. Fort Wayne is up there. I'm sorry, I've never been to these places. I'm sure they're all party towns, but I think there are other more fun places to go. Although, if we look out the window here, the scenery down there, the farm country scenery is really looking good. "47 miles to Bonnet is our first checkpoint. And how we doing? There is 28,000. So let's see, what do we say? It was about 4 minutes ago or something. So we should be at top of climb in another, I don't know, 7 minutes, if we're lucky. On the other hand, you can see our rate of climb is really starting to drop down. So climbing slower and slower. We're up above 28,000 feet. It's nice and calm. So we're going to go ahead and turn seatbelts off. In case someone's got to go to the bathroom. Sim Toolkit Pro just reset itself. It's not telling me that it wants to update or anything. It's just resetting itself every 10 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't say that it wants to do an update or anything, so. And we're coming up on 29,000 and about 500 feet per minute. I thought that 34,000 feet was a little optimistic for this airplane. Cabin pressurization's looking good. Are we killing our passengers? We're pressurized to about 8,000 feet. We're still climbing, just not very fast. If you were watching television in the UK or PBS in the United States, you may remember from the 60s and 70s a guy named Gary Anderson, who had a TV production company called Super Marionation. And that's the guy that did Thunderbirds and then later Space 1999 and UFO. And so they had these little flying models and puppets, essentially. And I swear this airplane looks to me like it was a Jerry Anderson airplane. It really does look like a Super Marionation airplane to me. And there is 34,000 feet, so we're still climbing. So 4,000, so at 500 feet per minute, that's what, another 8 minutes? So we should be done climbing by about 20 minutes before the top of the hour. Unless we go down even slower or start climbing even slower. We are 256 miles from top of descent. No, 256 miles from Chicago O'Hare. And according to estimated time en route, it says we should be landing in about 36 minutes. This is also doing some fuel for us too, and it's saying that we should have, it's estimating 7.1 tons of fuel. 7.1, kgs, tons of fuel. The flight plan said that we should have 2.6. I didn't add extra fuel to this, so I might not be doing that correctly. That might have been something that I didn't set up correctly either. Haven't been doing an awful lot with things like weather radar. We're still waiting for Sim Update 10 to have weather radar re-implemented, so we are also 15 miles from our first checkpoint in the sky, Bonnet. And that's also the beginning of the star. There's 31,000 feet. And we picked up a little bit of a climb here too. I think they're starting to get ready for afternoon thunderstorms today. Starting to see, these little bumps in the clouds, a little bit of convection, air, ground's heating up a bit. So I think they're getting ready for thunderstorms today in the Chicagoland area and the central U.S. We're just dealing with wildfire smoke today. Notice that the barber pole is getting a little bit closer. So VNE, speed never exceed speed. VNE, velocity never exceed. So you don't want to go up in here. So as we get a little bit closer, you can see we're getting closer to Mach 0.7. That's supposed to be our final speed. So as we get closer to our final cruising altitude, and we're coming up on 32, so 2,000 feet, you can see that this is coming pretty close. And what we'll do is, as soon as that happens, we'll change the target from 80 to 70. I think when I do this, when I start to change that, this is gonna, we'll have to reset it just a bit, but I'll just drop this down to 70 and see what it does. And we'll also watch and make sure and see what's going on. Now we still need to do target and sync, make sure both of those are still going. So change this, hit target and sync again, and that should take care of our engines for us. It's not an auto throttle, so to speak, but kind of is. Sort of, kind of, in a way, maybe. And we've started the star here too, so we really are going to be doing, okay, what's 230 miles? We decided on 100 miles. This airplane does have LNAV, VNAV to a certain extent. I don't know exactly how that works, but that's a part of this flight management system that I have not taken a dive into at all. And Sim Toolkit Pro just reset again. And there we go. I also would like, generally I keep Sim Toolkit Pro minimized. It's now becoming very insistent that it doesn't be minimized anymore. Beep. I think we should have heard the altitude alert. Maybe this one doesn't alert us. Okay, let's do one last check. Uh-oh, altitude arm is out. That light is out. Ah, now it got the beep. I was gonna say, we should have gotten the beep there. My altitude arm light went out. Probably because I did something wrong, but no idea. Okay, we're also a little more than Mach 0.7 right now, and we're getting closer and closer to the barber pole there. So as soon as we settle in, we're going to change our thrust management to, again, I usually start about 70, 71 degrees and kind of have to adjust from there. Anything more than 71 and I usually go into the too fast and the airplane yells at me. Although this one doesn't talk to you that much, it just goes meep, 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 meep. And here we are, settling into final cruise. It's going into altitude hold mode. Our speed is starting to increase. You can see it inching up just a little bit. So let's go and do that thing now. All right, so we're going to dial this down to 71, 71, target, and sync. And then keep an eye on this. We're starting to make our turn, so we've started our approach. And you can hear the engine starting to spool down just a little bit. And we're at 71 degrees. And then I'll just kind of really go and fixate on this. Is it getting closer? Is it going up or going down? It looks like it's steady. So 71 is your best starting point there. Okay. And we are now essentially 100 miles from what we've decided is our top of descent. So this is usually when I start my descent preparations. So in my list of things to do, it says top of descent, do math. Okay, we did the math. It wanted 90 something. We were rounding it up to 100, 110 miles is when we're going to stop. Radar altimeter decision height. The radar altimeter is this little guy right here. You don't use a baro. So come on over to the runway that you're expecting. And category 1. So the baro altitude is 869 feet for minimums or 200 feet above the ground. So we're going to dial in 200 feet right here. So crank it in. There's 100 and 200 feet. Okay, so we're going to go there. Cabin altitude. So cabin altitude is basically what is the airport's landing altitude. So we'll go over here to the airport page. And Chicago is 680 feet above sea level. So what I interpret that as, so there's 8,000. So we dial this down. 4,000. There's about 680 feet. Now it's going to be interesting to see if it starts depressurizing the airplane. And I don't know if I should have done this now or later. It's starting to go down a little bit. So let's see if it does too much, because I may be doing this too soon. If it depressurizes us below, I'm not sure if that's the proper time to do that or not. V speeds, verify. Okay, notice here my speed is bouncing into the zone, so let's go to 700. I'm going to go to 670, 680, target, and sync. To which point it has decided to speed me up. So that's not good. Okay. So I've physically moved my throttles now. Okay, is our speed coming down? There we go. Okay, so that was clearly not a happy camper on that one. So let's go ahead and go to 690 and see what this thing does. I haven't really had it this kind of speed before. Okay, so let's assume that everything's good. We're not depressurizing the airplane that much. Let's set the ILS. So that's up here. So here's the VHF. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. I'm going to go and flip this over to active and pre. Just because I kind of like setting it up that way. And the ILS is 108.95. So 108.95. There we go, 108.95, and I'm going to make that active. There is a VOR at Chicago. It's not very powerful. It's 108.25. So we'll go ahead and just do the other one, 108.25, and leave it alone. Inbound course is 093 degrees. So let's go 093. And SimToolkit Pro just reset itself again. 093. It did it about every half hour on Cross the Land the other day. But A, if you're minimized, it flashes it up on the screen, and B, it expects you to, then click a few things. So that's the irritating part of that. How's our speed? I think we're in relatively good shape here. Okay, so nav radios are set. VREF speeds. It says verify. All I usually do is come over here and re-click the speed card. And we're going to click it a second card on descent. Now then, altitude. We decided that we wanted to go down, and we're going to let us go down to 2,300 feet. So 2,300 feet. So let's start cranking. $2,300 feet. Okay, we're good to go there. Now then, how we doing? We are 160 miles. I'm gonna go and make it 120, 110. I always add a little bit. And see, we've got all sorts of people flying today. We've got JJ Coolbomb, Lily Cross, Joe Biden is flying with us today. Ranger Special Cop, maybe? So we got all sorts of interesting people flying into Chicago O'Hare today. The names in Flight Sim are great. How's our speed? Okay, we're a little bit below the barber pole, so I think the airplane is allegedly happy. When it's descent time, we're going to also hit over here. There is a descend button. So we'll hit the descend button. altitude, it's going down a little bit. So it's depressurizing a little bit, so maybe setting that altitude shouldn't happen until you're actually starting down. In fact, I think I'm going to change this. So here's my before descent. See what it says? Cabin altitude target. I'm going to change this. And after descent, I'm going to put this down here. I think that needs to be down there. That might be a little bit soon. So I will go and make little changes like that and little tweaks to my list of things to do. 140 miles. The excitement for descent is building. Now's a great time for you to do a cup of coffee. Over on the Twitch live stream, something that they do with live streamers all the time is there's a couple of things, things that users can do, you know, in chat. Viewers can chat, and you can say to tell the live streamer to hydrate, or posture check, or, you know, stretch and stuff. If you're doing flight sim and even if you're not live streaming, hydrate, stretch, posture check. I mean, we're doing an hour and a half flight. Now the pilots, they've got these really nice chairs and stuff like that. We're in a hard gamer chair. I mean, when I first started live streaming, I was sitting on a weight bench and leaning up against a bed. So, I mean, really, that's a thing. Okay, we're going to Hanny here. We are 140 miles out. How we doing? Let's go over and take a look. So on the Veek 5. There we are, Hanny. Now we're going to actually do Pink, Monks, and Giorgio, right? Because we're on the south side of the airport. Is that what we've got on legs here? Cato, Pink, Monks, Giorgio, and Possum. We're good. This is the right one. So back over to progress. 136 miles. So we'll start our descent in just a second here. $133. As we count them down. So workflow on this one is altitude arm, thrust management descend, watch the speed reduce to 250 knots, and then IAS for descent. And that's how we'll go ahead and do that. There's another turn. 129 miles. I'm going to do it at 125. I always feel like I'm high in this airplane. So I'm going to add 25 miles to that and see what happens. And Sim Toolkit Pro just reset itself again. Clearly it's having a little bit of a nutty today. Okay, there's 125 miles. So altitude arm, descend. What's our speed? Right at 250 knots, IAS. And down we go. Now I don't know that we're gonna be going down that fast. Fact is, it doesn't look like we're going down hardly at all. So I'm going to actually physically pull my throttles back a little bit. So I'm pulling it back to about 80 or so. And now we're descending at about, we're doing pretty good. Descending at about 1,000. I'm going to go and keep pulling my throttles back. So you're actually having to pull the throttles back. Now I'm using 2 of the Airbus TCA Airbus throttles. That's my setup right now, and I've got them side by side. Okay, those are for a 2-engine airplane, and so it's really hard, even with pretty good sized hands, to do all that. So definitely having to pull this back, but I'd rather descend at about 1,800 feet per minute. Okay, there's a little more than 2,000, so we'll be caught up there. We're still maintaining 250 knots, so that's good. Okay, IAS select PTU pump. Hydraulic PTU goes on, so the hydraulic PTU is on. Cabin altitude target, we've set that one. Cabin signs. Next, cabin signs. I usually do cabin signs at about 25,000 feet, unless we've got turbulence. And we are 109 miles out from Chicago. Descending about 2,000 feet per minute. That's not bad. Not great, not terrible, which seems to be the way my flight sim life is. And a solid layer of clouds. My guess is it's dicey weather today in the Chicagoland area. Here's what NWS says. National Weather Service says mostly cloudy today. Slight chance of showers tonight and tomorrow. 73 degrees Fahrenheit today, 66 tonight. Back to the 80s by Wednesday and Thursday. Beach hazard statement. Beach hazards, what? High waves up to 5 feet and dangerous currents expected on Lake Michigan. Until 10 a.m. this morning. Swimming conditions will be life-threatening, especially for inexperienced swimmers. So a little bit on the wavy side there, huh? And in we go. There's 27,000 feet. And how are we doing on the approach? Let's look at, oh wow. Yeah, we're definitely a little bit high today, aren't we? I'm gonna pull these throttles back even more. We need to descend even faster. There's Monks, Giorgio, and Possum. Yeah, we, so much for our descent preps. Oh, look at that. Pulling these throttles back even more. Okay, this is also going to be a vectors approach, so let's go ahead and get the heading bug, because we're going to have to go into heading mode eventually. And there is the heading bug straight up. Good. Speed's 250, so that's good. We're still descending. I'm going to go to thrust idle now. So clearly we did not descend very good. Seatbelts at 25,000 feet. There we are coming up on Giorgio. And after Giorgio, it's Possum. After Possum, it's vectors. So in 12 miles, let's see how we do. We'll be making a turn to the north and then vectoring ourselves back into the runway here. Flap speeds on this airplane, flaps 18, that's about 210 knots, that's the placard speed. 180 for 24 degrees, 145 for 30 degrees. Descending a little bit faster. About ready to go over DuPage Airport, but you really can't see that there. Oh, we got some breaks in the clouds here. Couple of breaks in the clouds. Okay, that's not so bad. 6 miles to Possum. So let's go ahead and usually about 3 miles out is when I'm going to switch over from VNAV to heading, LNAV to heading mode. VNAV, LNAV, it's all the same, right? 5 miles from Possum. Passing 21,000 feet. We're going to have to go out a little bit here. At the rate we're going, yeah, we're going to have to go out a little bit because descent did not work so well. Okay, there's 2 miles, heading hold. I'm going to go to vertical speed on this one and start reducing my speed just a bit. And we can do that with just a touch of speed brake, and let's see what happens. So air brakes are on, speed's coming down. We're descending at about 2,000 feet per minute. There's 240. I'm going to 210, then I can throw out a notch of flaps, and that's going to help out. There's 230 knots. Passing 18,000 feet. Altimeter in Chicago is 3009. 3009. There we go. Speed's still coming down. Right? Yep, still coming down. So 210 is when I'll put the speed brakes away and we'll do one click of flaps. Flaps 18. There's 220. The clouds are absolutely amazing outside this. And you see a couple little bumps here. As the afternoon goes on, we start to see some atmospheric heating. Those bumps get a little bit higher, and some of them become thunderstorms. 220. Not so much there, though. 16,000 feet, that looks good. Is our speed still coming down? Yep. Slowly but surely. I just gave you a Shirley. Oh my gosh. How dare I call people Shirley. And Sim Toolkit Pro just reset again. Yeah, that's not irritating. What the reset is it goes to white and then goes away and then pops back up and then, you know, wants you to go and hit restore flight. And then sometimes it wants you to say, hey, you know, are you using X-Plane or Microsoft? Okay, there's 210 knots. One click of flaps. Let's put those speed brakes away now, because that's going to help us hold 210 as we continue to go out. Okay, let's go 360 degrees. See if we can start our turn into the Chicagoland area. So there's 360 degrees, making the turn. Let's also go out of RNAV and go into nav mode. We do not have DME from any of the airports. The VOR that we're going to is not the strongest VOR. Uh-oh, speed's coming down a little bit. So let's go ahead and do pitch down a little bit. There, we're getting closer to 180, 190. I wanted to descend at about 210 at this point. Okay, they're straight north. Let's go ahead and do half the heading distance and see if we can't start picking up our ILS here. Another turn. Okay, there is still a little bit slow. There's 10,000 feet landing lights. 10,000 foot cabin call. Okay, so we're kind of heading towards the localizer here. Coming up on 8,000 feet. Now I'm doing a little cheating here. So I've got this over here, and here's our airplane. Let's go ahead and go 09 something. 093. That's a good thing to do on something like this, especially if you're having to vector yourself like we are. But not so bad. How's our speed? And we're still at about 190, so not great, not terrible. Let's start to slow this descent down, because here as we come up to BAe, it's supposed to be 9,000 feet, so we can get our speed under control a little bit. So we're going to go a little nose up on vertical speed. So slow that descent down just a little bit. Okay, there's a little bit of wind out there, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to just adjust my... Oh, look at that. We are now picking up something that appears to be the localizer. Okay, we can go ahead and continue to reduce the amount of our descent. Now our speed's going to go down, so we're going to have to start putting our picking up the throttles a bit. And I'm just holding that down to reduce this descent. Our speed's now going to come down to 180. Remember, we were chatting it up a little bit about things like posture checks and stuff. Flaps or two, and I'm going to start to bring my throttles up just a bit, because we're getting a little low. On speed. Still reducing my rate of descent here. I have localizer now, so we got glide slope and localizer. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit off to the side here, so get our heading a little bit over to the right. Uh-oh, speed's coming down. There's 160. We wanted to be 180. How about landing gear? Coming into some clouds. If it weren't summertime, I'd be freaking out about icing. Actually, it's starting to cool down today, so there's our landing gear. Let's add a little bit more throttle. Getting too slow. And we're slightly off the side here. So turn a little bit more in here. So I'm just, there is getting our heading around there. And let's come on over here. Let's click the speed card. And their speeds for landing, so that's good. Looks like we're going to be landing at about 125 or so. And Sim Toolkit Pro wants another restart. Thank you. All right, starting to come down.
Speed checked below 170. Select flaps 30.
Okay, looking good there. Okay, want to hold 230 knot to the altitude. 2,300. How's our speed? 160, not great, not terrible. We're centered up. We're just waiting for glide slope and localizer. Glide slope. We were on localizer pretty good. Holding 2,300. Altitude hold until, and so now what we'll do is just wait for the glide slope to start coming down. Still a little bit slow for this. I would rather be closer to 180. So manual throttles. Gears down, 3 green. We got one more click of the throttles there, of the flaps, I mean. Okay, APU should have gone on in case we have to go around. Forgot to do the APU. Yep, you start the APU in the air. Okay, we're getting slightly off here, so a couple of clicks off to the right on the heading. Holding 2,300, looking for my glide slope. Not seeing that yet. APU is coming up. There's that golf course. Still slightly off to the side. A few degrees more to the right. Starting to see what I think are runway lights. But I don't know that I see them yet. Okay. That's probably good. I reduced my speed a bit. Okay, APU air is on. Engine air goes off. Engine air is off. And we're looking like we're fairly close to the localizer. Still no sign of... I see some runway lights. I see our runway lights right there. That looks good. There's 160. We should start to see that glide slope start to come down. Okay, go over here. Make sure your seat's locked in. Feet on the rudder pedals if you've got them. I'm seeing our runway's lights.
Speed check below 145. Select flap 33.
Flaps are all the way out. Add a little bit more power. And I think the autopilot's had enough fun.
Autopilot disconnected.
It's too much. Okay, seriously. Okay, there it is. 2 clicks there. That got annoying. I mean, seriously, between Sim Toolkit Pro and the and turning off the autopilot. Okay, our airplane. I see no sign of my glide slope yet. See, as I recall, it's supposed to be a little bit breezy here today. We are definitely off to the side, and we should be over on the center runway. We're over on the other side. So let's get over on our proper runway. I guess, you know, landing on the proper runway is a thing. Okay, we're descending. Okay, we're going to need a little more throttle here. A little bit low, but then again, it's also nice to go hunting for some butter here today, too. All right, now we're lined up on our proper runway. Hey, look at that. There comes the glide slope. Okay, a couple of little taps on the trim.
1 knot to go.
Speed picked up a little bit. And the glide slope came down nicely.
1,000.
This airplane does get bounced around a little bit. It definitely will get bounced around in the wind. Little high, centered up nicely. Speeds about 10, 15 knots fast. That's okay. Little high, and let the nose come down a little more. Okay, now that I'm done here, one of the things is if I have time, I'll come over here, shift over to the ground chart. There's Chicago, and that way I can see that. Don't spend too much time doing that. Especially if you're on VATSIM. Kind of got blown off to the side.
Plus 100. Minimums.
I think landing's probably an okay thing to say.
$50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
Ground idle. Brake pressure seen.
Speed brakes.
Yellow and green spoilers. 80 knots.
So I'm using
60
manual
knots.
brakes. Speed brakes down. Off on Papa 5. Welcome to Chicago. Flaps going up. Transponder. Okay, let's go right around to Papa. What do we got coming up here? We could do Foxtrot. Foxtrot doesn't really do us much good. I think we should have gone the other way. These are big, wide turnarounds. Let's go this way. Add just a little bit of power to keep us going. Landing lights should go off. I have no idea how bad was our landing rate. Minus 153. Ooh, I'll take that one. I'll take a minus 153. Okay, Papa 4 should get us across runway 10 left. Okay, I see other people way out there. They're not kind of coming our way, so that's no big deal. See, we're off of a runway, so strobes can go off. And we'll come across runway 10 left. And we're going to Kilo 3 once we get on November. Flight directors. Okay, so from here, it's a left turn to Kilo 3, and remember our parking gate is Echo 1. And we did it. This airplane is an absolute handful. You've got to just stay constantly practiced up on it. And looks like Joe Biden is landing. Or no, Joe Biden is taking off. Well, happy landings. Rangers Specs is still on the horizon. Here's Kilo 3. And Kilo 3 is how we go and get into the Echo. Okay, so from here we cross. Now my scenery is a little bit wacky over here. So it's a much harder turn. Okay, so from here, then we're going to make a left turn at, let's see, Tango 8. And then Alpha 9 will get us into where we're going. So right now, technically, I'm off the taxi chart. So you can see things are a little bit out of date here. But if we go ahead and just go straight across here, this is going to put us right into our gate. Point being, you'll definitely need to, with some of these airports, especially if you're in a big VATSIM event, be ready to make some changes. Okay, so we're coming into United Land. The Echo gate that we're going to is actually right in here. So we'll go across here. And then come on in. Echo 1, there's 2 of them over here. Echo 1 is that one right there. So there's our gate. This airplane is such a fun challenge. So, you know, staying practiced up on this one is hard. The next thing that I'll be doing today is it's breakfast time here at Spy HQ, and then a brand new Constellation. It's a 4-engine prop liner from way back when. Originally, they started working on them before World War II. For TWA was the one of the launch airlines for that. And so, gonna go ahead and try and start learning the Connie today. And I'm gonna try and do it without all the help from the flight engineer, so we'll see if that works. There is Echo 1, and that'll be one of the airplanes that we'll be flying next week on the Spy Flight. We'll also take this one up for a spin next week. We'll also be in the PMDG 737. I've been really enjoying the PMDG. A lot of people that are live streaming Flight Sim are really just absolutely thinking that's one of the cool airplanes for sure. Okay, and there is that Echo 1? Yep. Echo 1. Our jetway appeared. Oh. So Echo 1, we come in here like this, and then we do a turn. So it's come in and turn sharply. Okay, so we're coming up here. Oh, this is interesting. So over here, and now hard over. I think that this one is not meant for an airplane like this. This is meant for a CRJ. So we're gonna need a little bit of power on my engines here. Okay, well, we're not doing very good on this, are we? This one is clearly for a CRJ and not this airplane. And I can't do a pushback, so, well, this is pretty embarrassing, isn't it? This is not good. Shall we try and take another shot at this? Okay, take 2. Well, fortunately, we can just kind of go and warp through all of that. Okay, so we're not going to follow that little line here. So we're going to follow this one. But this one, yeah, this is clearly meant for CRJ 200s. Let's say, so we'll come in here. And we're going to come out like this. Come on around here. And there we go. So that's about as good as we're going to get there. Let's do parking brakes. Parking brakes are good. And we can come up here. The APU is already up and running. So 1, whoops, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, beacon goes off. Seatbelts go off. We've already got the APU generator and all of that is good to go. So the lights are good too. See, I probably didn't do these guys very well, did I? Okay, outside we go. And let's come on over here and get pushback helper again and see if that gives us our jetway. So let's click the jetway button. Hey, there we go. It's going to give us a jetway. It's probably going to go and wipe out our 2 engines here. But this one's meant for CRJs. What is this? A CRJ2 E4s, E70s. Okay, so we got those. Come on over here, do chocks. We can put ground power in, forward passengers, forward cargo. So we can do these guys. We could also come in here and there is ground power. So we're going to patch that in. So ground power is now in. We'll still go ahead and keep the APU up for pneumatics. And look at that. That's not bad. You know, not great, not terrible, but it works. But wow, do they pack them in tight here. They really packed this one in tight. So we made it. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was arrested, right? It's Dominic is over there on the horizon too. Well, I hope that this helps you just a little bit with your flights. Obviously, this is one of those airplanes where you're going to have to do, you know, there's so much more to learn about it. And I can't wait to see what Just Flight does with the new one when it comes out too. I think that that's going to be a really interesting airplane. As always with my flight videos, clearly after a day like today, it's not about the right way versus the wrong way. It really is what works for me. And I hope that some of this worked for you. I'm still new here on YouTube, so read all the questions and comments. Can't wait to see what you think about this. Tell me how your flight went on this airplane too. And I hope that maybe you'll consider coming over and joining us on the Spy Flight. It's every day, Tuesday through Sunday, 1900 Zulu is our departure time over on Twitch TV. Big thank you to my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon, and also subscribers over on Twitch. You all are the jet fuel to my flight plan. Thank you so much for flying with me. It's time for me to go and start learning a whole new airplane. Take care, stay healthy, stay safe, and as always, cheers.